Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm changing the introduction. I'm just going to mix it up a little bit, keep it real for all you listeners out there. Welcome to another episode of Wear Many Hats. Today, I am actually really excited to be joined by a guy who's had a very, very interesting career. He's given us a bit of a debrief beforehand. We've been joined by Sean Martin.
Hello, how's it going?
Regional Facilities Manager at Helix Property Advisors. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm all right. I'm still convinced you got the wrong guy on the show.
No.
Must have invited the wrong person.
No. Did you know something? You're our first Helix guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're the first, the number one. First one on
Have
the
you spoke to anyone else?
No.
No.
We've invited a few, but they all turned us down. No, I'm joking. No, but you are our first Helix guy, so welcome.
Oh, privilege. Genuinely, it's a privilege. I've seen some of the other guys you've interviewed in here already, and
yeah,
as I say, I'm pretty sure you got the wrong bloke.
No.
Some guys I really look up to.
No.
I see you had Helmy on here from...
Helmy, yes. Yeah, Helmy's a good friend of ours.
From Smartech,
yeah. He's a great guy.
We work with him quite a lot. To be asked to come and interview alongside some of those blokes is it's a privilege. Honour and a privilege.
Well, look at that. I like that. That's good. Helmy will be licking himself as we speak.
Sure he will.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's right. Okay, brilliant. Well, listen, thanks for joining us, Sean. Obviously, you know the format of the show. We're going to talk a little bit about your career. And hopefully your career will inspire the next generation of facilities management professionals. So, easy question, this one, mate. Talk us through your career from beginning through to where we are now, and I'm going to jump in and out with a few questions.
I suppose probably like a lot of the guests you've had in here, I fell into it. I don't think anybody, like we were saying earlier on, I don't think anybody came out of school distinctly saying, I'm going to go into facilities management.
I want to be an FM.
Yeah, I want to be an FM. Don't think I've ever heard it said. I was an accountant, started training as an accountant.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not. Yeah, I know. I've had friends that got into FM through either working as a service provider or through the military, but very few came through that road as an accountant. But you do get all sorts.
We did have one guy that came through from that,
was an accountant?
Yeah.
Really?
And he was an accountant for a significant number of years and for just randomly decided to switch to FM.
Yeah.
A guy called Mike Toohey, actually. You might know him.
Doesn't ring a bell. That doesn't ring a bell.
I believe he was ex-GVA one day.
Was he?
Yeah, I think he was years ago, yeah.
Well, it was. I was doing accounts for a property management business.
Oh, really?
They were called Nelson Bakewell, who went on to become MB Real Estate. They splintered off into MB Real Estate and MB and Trust, and the MB Trust was the FM side of the business.
Right.
And a guy called Nigel Luca, who appears again later on in the story, said to me, "What do you know about facilities management?" Of course, I said absolutely nothing, and he showed me the ropes.
Yeah.
Within a couple of years, I was managing their biggest portfolio for MB and Trust. It then later became Capita.
Right.
He left to go out and head up the foreign office in the Asia Pacific region, and then called me and said, "Do you want to come out and work in Hong Kong as our
I don't know about that. Like,
give me a second to think about it."
Okay, then. So I'm my best sorority pack. I'm on my way.
I was on a flight out the next morning, and it was almost that quick.
Can I ask how old you were then, Sean?
20. But I mean, when I first had those conversations, probably 26, 27.
So 26, 27, and facilities management has given you an opportunity to travel the world.
To go out and see the world.
And that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's something I do preach to anybody looking to get into that career. Is that it will give you those opportunities? I mean, if you want it, you can go and see the world doing this. Yeah. So went out to Hong Kong, working for ISS, running the foreign office contracts across 13 countries. So I'd fly into Hong Kong probably on a Friday night, and then we do what young guys do in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Go and have a drink or two. And,
have a look around, see what's occurring.
see what's going on.
What's going on?
And then my boss would say to me, "Right, Monday morning we need you out in Jakarta, Indonesia, or we need you in Vietnam, or Beijing, or Tokyo, or wherever it might be." Wow. So I'd go and spend a week there, fly in, troubleshoot, fly back in on a Friday night, and repeat. Again, have a look around, see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, you got it on you.
Absolutely rude not to. And
you've got to try the local customs, don't you?
And no comment. And just repeated that process then for the next couple of years until my brain was frazzled.
Really?
Because obviously, that amount of flying and different time zones, and then flying back to the UK every time you had a week or two's break. Big long flight, big long time difference. Spend a day or two sort of recalibrating to the time zone, and then back out of Hong Kong, and so after 3 years or so, that was me done.
Yeah. How did you find the environment working over there? So because one thing I've always thought is, I don't think I could handle the humidity.
I am a sweaty little man, so I've really struggled.
Really,
but it's not. I mean, it's not all humid. Obviously, if you go to Japan in the winters and Korea in the winter, it's not hot. It's not.
Right.
It's really cold.
But Hong Kong isn't it?
Hong Kong's very humid nearly most of the year round.
Yeah.
It does drop a little bit in December. But then you got Singapore's and Indonesia's of the world. It's just constant.
Just mental.
Just constantly sweating.
Yeah.
But the trick is to wear more clothes, to wear a vest.
I've heard that.
Put a vest on underneath, it sort of soaks up all the sweat.
Yeah, do you know, a gentleman told me that. Just even here, I'm a sweaty little man as well, to be fair. So if I go on the Central Line in summer, I'm in trouble. There is a picture of me doing the rounds after walking to the station, looking like I'm in a white shirt. Looks like I've been swimming. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I only walked a kilometre. Yeah. Right? It was horrendous. But a friend of mine said, wear a white shirt, right? And ever since I've worn a white shirt, I'm like, it kind of works, this. So I do it all the time.
It depends if you're clean shaven around, you get away with it. But if you're a hairy little bloke, then you just all, your chest bush is just on display, then, isn't it?
Exactly.
If you're soaking wet.
So this is now turning into a manscaping episode. This is brilliant. Listen, we give you everything. Yeah, sponsored by Gillette. The best a man can give.
So I spent a couple of years out there sweating profusely, and then came back to work for a company called Orbit. It was a smaller boutique provider.
I know Orbit, yeah. I've come across them on my travels.
I spent a couple of years there, and then ended up with Everton Young, GVA Everton Young. Yeah. Running the Berkeley Square estate for the Abu Dhabi royal family, managing some quite significant assets around Berkeley Square.
I mean, to be fair, just to interrupt, I mean, we're kind of skirting over these, but these were big roles,
For a young bloke.
Yeah, for a young bloke. At Orbit, you were the director of facilities management.
Correct. Facility services. Facility services. Which was a new offering we were working on there to try and self-deliver a lot of.
But these are still big roles for a young gentleman to pick up. GVA, deputy head of FM. For a very well-established business in the UK. Tell our listeners how you came to get those roles. What actions did you take professionally to put yourself in the position to be offered those roles?
I'd love to say it was all very strategic and to make out it was all planned. It's really best advice I can give anybody is just be that bloke that gets it done. Just get stuff correct. Your boss asks you to get something done. He hasn't got to ask you again. Hasn't got to chase you 3 weeks' time or ask if how'd you get on with that. Yeah. He just knows if he asks you, it gets done. I think Sean Collins, who was the head of FM at GVA. I think after working with me for about a year, I was brought in. I think on a temp to perm basis, and then after working with me for a year, just saw that if he asked me to get it done, it got done. Yeah, it was as simple as that. There's a guy there, other end of the desk, who I can rely on, who I can count on. He's going to turn up every morning. He's going to get the job done. Yeah, and I really think that's the best piece of advice I can give anybody is become indispensable like that. Be the bloke that they trust to get the job done. Without too much hand holding or pursuing for updates. Simple stuff. Answer the phone, ring the bloke back. Answer your email. Really, it's not rocket science.
I think that's just being courteous, to be fair. Do you know? To me, that's manners. I will always try and ring people. Someone rings me out, I will try and ring people. I mean, I'm a salesman, so when salespeople ring me, I will answer the phone, or I'll ring them back and I'll go,
professional courtesy.
Yeah, and I'll just go, look, I understand that, but there's no opportunity here. I think that that's a really good point. That people should take on board. Communication is key. Don't ignore a problem or an issue. Yeah. Speak to people.
It's a customer service industry.
Yeah, it is.
If you're not answering the phone, exactly that. If you're not answering the phone to people, then what are you doing?
Exactly.
As I said, I'd love to make out it was because I'm particularly gifted or intelligent or anything like that. I think a lot of it's probably born out of fear. If I don't do this, I'm going to get sacked. And just get the job done. Be that. I watched Obama in an interview recently talking to the younger generations, and he made that same point. Yeah, just be useful.
Yeah, be useful. That's actually a very good piece of advice. Be useful. Be available, be useful. Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, what good are you?
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, there's plenty of people that probably aren't useful, maybe, that don't do what you would expect them to do, and so on and so forth. Journeymen, or journey person. I don't know what is it these days.
What's the politically correct term to use?
I don't know. Journey person. Let's go for that.
Let's go with that.
We'll edit that out. We'll edit that out.
Let's get enough on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. I never enough said we're ticking the boxes there, We'll edit that one out. So that's great. So obviously you mentioned Sean, who was your director at GVA.
Yes.
Was that individual a mentor for you in your career?
Absolutely.
And how
Still
important was that?
Well, he comes back into the story again later as well. So there was two guys. There was, as I say, Nigel Luca from my days at MB & Trust that went on to head up the Foreign Office, took me out there with him, and then I ended up at Aberson Young GVA working for a guy called Sean Collins, who then was seconded to one of GVA's clients called Empiric Student Property, or Hello Student, which is their sort of client-facing brand name.
Right.
And he picked the phone up and said, do you want to come and work with me over at Empiric? And I said, absolutely. So I was the technical services manager for Empiric, running a portfolio of 90 assets, 90 PBSA student assets. And
that's quite an interesting change as well, though, isn't it? From into technical services, because it's slightly different, isn't it? There is a difference there.
Yeah. So there was, I suppose, I've always had a hard FM bias, and it's.
Are you telling me you don't like soft services?
Oh, I knew that was coming.
Hey?
I knew that was coming. Well, that's just
get out, Sean. I'm joking.
What's going to interest you more as a young facilities manager? Is it going to be the cleaning and the security? Or is it going to be technology? I suppose I know horses for courses. I know the people that do get off on soft services. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah,
it's not my cup of tea.
Interesting term. Turn of phrase there. Get off on. Yeah, but there we go. So sorry.
It's entirely necessary. I get it, but I walk into a plant room and I'm excited by all the.
Listen,
all the shiny stuff
as well. I like the technology. I like how technology links in. I mean, we've been to visit a few buildings recently. People that have been on the show and they've happily invited us to come along. And just looking at some of the BMUs and some of the kit and the systems that these buildings use to operate.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about it when they go in. Nobody who works there thinks, how does this keep going? But when you actually look at the technical association, how air moves around the building, how water moves around the building, how it's heated, how it's cooled down, it is fascinating. I do agree with you there.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, it does. I spend an awful lot of time looking at, if you go through your phones, if you go through the phone of any facilities manager, and you're going to see a lot of toilets, pictures of an awful lot of toilets, a lot of meter cupboards, and a lot of plant rooms. But it's the plant room part that's where I sort of stop and spend a lot of my time just looking at how stuff fits together and works, and where water flows through, and how air's treated, and the BMS ties it all together. And you start to think about the evolution of buildings into smart buildings. All right. Other industries are going to be dragged kicking and screaming along with it, but it's the hard FM that's advancing at a pace that takes your breath away.
Well, I say this a lot on the show. I think our industry is a lot better in terms of its adoption of technology, sustainability practices, and anything really that's coming down the pike. I think we kind of lead. You don't hear about it, but we're very, very good at adopting new technology, different ways of working, very, very adaptable to change. I think the industry as the whole, on the whole, I think it's very adaptable to change.
I think we need to. I mean, I read a staggering statistic the other day that 70% of all carbon in the world is produced by the built environment.
Really?
So we have an obligation, if we're in that sector, if we're in property management,
to do something about it.
Exactly. That. So if that means embracing change and and evolving and adopting new technology to do something about that number, then we've got an obligation to do it.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, so obviously technical services manager at Empiric, you were there for a good couple of years.
Good couple of years, made redundant.
Really?
No,
Oh, sorry.
No, don't be. Because then I had that PBSA experience when Helix finally took pity on me and offered me a job. It was that PBSA experience then that gave them the confidence to ask me to come and get involved with Aparto, which is their student brand or the parent company, Hines' student brand.
Okay.
So now I'm working, managing both the commercial property portfolio and the PBSA portfolio, which I don't think I know anybody in our industry that does both at the same time.
Really?
I'm fortunate that they've given me both. So
yeah,
they're two very different.
So just for people listening that don't know, can you explain the difference between both? Do you mind?
So student property, it's in terms of the way it's leased. If you think about it, it's aligned with each academic year. So you've got an intake of students every academic year. You might be greeting 1,000 students for a new development. You've got to lease up. So before they get there, you've got to go and make your rent offering, your initial rent. You set your rents and your budget for the year. So round about March, April time, we're starting to draft those budgets and decide what rents are going to look like for the coming academic year.
Yeah.
That goes to investors, and by September, we've got thousands of students arriving. There's what we call the summer turnaround, which is a period before they get there where we're changing all the mattresses, getting all of the cleaning companies will get involved to clean thousands of rooms in a very short period of time, and it's all very chaotic.
That's the most challenging thing.
That's you see the churn of staff through that industry afterwards because people have just gone, that's enough,
frazzled,
never again. So it's continuous. So every year you're gearing up. You're really you're looking at your marketing strategy, and then you're doing events. So the marketing teams are coming in and they're doing doing the New Year, or they're doing Valentine's Day or Halloween or Christmas. So there's this, you're continuously doing some event or getting ready for the next intake of students or setting budgets. Commercial property, you might put a tenant in a building and not have much to do with them for the next 5 to 10 years. Yeah. You've leased them a floor in a commercial office space, and that might be it. If they're a good tenant, and if the building's working well as it should do, then you probably won't hear an awful lot from them. Yeah. But the commercial investors, they take a longer term view on their assets, so they might be looking at 5 and 10 year life cycle plans. Yeah, of course, replacing plant over a longer period of time. So there's a completely different strategy to the way the two are managed and invested in.
Because I think in student accommodation as well, you've got to take into account the safeguarding issue as well. Because you're talking about young people.
The sorts of challenges. I mean, I wouldn't horrify you or some of your listeners with some of the stuff that greets us on a Monday morning. Really? With things that have gone on over a weekend. I mean, it's, sometimes really tragic stuff. Yeah. These kids are away from home for the first time. Yeah. A lot of sometimes it's their first time they've been in the country. They're from overseas. Yeah. They've got no life skills. Some of them, so there is that pastoral care piece that our general managers really specialise in more so than probably. Well,
of course, because you'd have to recruit a certain type of person,
100%,
to deal with the social elements associated with that, because you've got people that are coming in quite fragile, quite anxious. Like you said, those things will make people worry more. If they don't have the life skills, where's the local shop? How far away? Is it safe for me to walk there? All of that stuff. Yeah. So I think that's really interesting, because when you actually delve into it and think about it, you're like, oh, that's a lot to consider. As a business, really.
You're not dealing with a finance director or a CEO of a business, or someone that's in property. Might be someone that specialises in property, employed by a company to run that for them. You're dealing with the kids and their parents. Yeah, real human beings with real problems.
Oh, of course, I'm
not saying they've all got problems, but on occasion you're faced with situations where you're dealing with the result of what you do as a professional, and how that impacts on these kids. Is it a safe environment? If I'm a parent, I'm leaving my kid. I've got a 16-year-old myself who's about to go off to university. If you often put yourself in that mindset, would I be happy with my own kid living there? Yeah, knowing that that's going on in the basement and the plant room.
Exactly.
It's a very different kettle of fish.
Yeah, really interesting. I know a bit about it for one reason and one reason only. I used to deal with it. Do you remember? Have you heard of a company, Liberty Living?
Haven't come across them. No.
Yeah, well, I think they've been bought out now. But years and years ago, I used to deal with a gentleman called Andrew Hopper there. Lovely guy, actually, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in FM. But I think this is a long time ago. He was in Newcastle. I was bidding for the security contract there, and just what you had to take into consideration when even looking at that in terms of the training, the things that need to take place to ensure that the children are safe, and so on and so forth. It was to me, because I was quite young then as well, it was very interesting, and to be fair, something I'd never been exposed to. Yeah, to be fair. So very interesting. I've killed you there, haven't I?
Yeah, I've killed me stone dead. Mid flow.
Right. So anyway, so obviously, that was quite an interesting time in your career. And what would you say you've learned from those experiences? So obviously you've worked in commercial, you've worked in mixed use developments, you've worked abroad,
service provider side.
You've crammed a lot into quite a short space of time.
Yeah,
I would say
some people would read that as jumping around a little bit.
No, I wouldn't say that's jumping around. I see when people ask me that, I'm like, well, you could call it jumping around, or you could call it gathering experience, because you can only learn a certain amount. You can only learn a certain amount of things within one organisation, because that organisation operates that way.
Yeah.
If you want to have a broader church, I suppose is the best way to explain it, in terms of your knowledge and your capabilities, you have to work for other organisations.
Yeah, very well put. Yeah. I think if you spent your whole life working for one company, you don't only know the way that company does.
Yeah, but a lot of people do, and it works for them, and I completely understand that. But I've worked for several companies in my career, and I think it's made me more well-rounded.
Yeah,
I prefer that.
I can see myself staying here, to be fair.
Yeah,
where I am. Yeah. I think they've got enough variety in the types of assets that they invest. I mean, they're developers as well. So the parent company, Hines, they're international.
Right.
So I think there's enough scope there to keep you interested for the rest of your career. I mean, I don't think you'd ever work there and say I'm bored. I'm bored of what I'm doing. I think if you did, they'd very quickly give you something else to go and run with.
Yeah, very much so. So what's been the most challenging thing you've ever experienced in your career then, Sean? Or the thing where you thought, oh my God, how am I going to do this?
A big one out in my time in Asia. I was flown into Jakarta to Indonesia because the building manager there, she contracted some sort of disease and was off, so she wasn't coming back. And I think day 2 after getting there, the river that runs through the middle of Jakarta burst its banks and flooded the city.
Wow.
So I mean, when I say flooded, I mean I came out of the hotel room that morning, looked out in the street, and I was like, how am I going to get down into the embassy? So I picked up a couple of bin liners from the cleaner that was doing a room, wrapped myself in bin liners, wrapped my bag in bin liners, waded down through this swamp water until I got so downhill until I actually got into where the embassy was, which was the worst hit part of the town. Yeah, there was dead bodies. There was 2 young kids, dead kids, floated past me.
No way.
Yeah. On my life, 2 dead kids floated past me. So I got into the embassy. We had to. Part of the contract was we had to keep the security going. We had to, otherwise the country forfeits a year's turnover if there was any security breach. And there'll be a couple of people listening to this now that would remember this happening in a room and be going, I can't remember this. So we had to get rubber dinghies in. So we had to get the security guards doing the patrols on dinghies, or so paddling around to get doing the patrols. Now, bear in mind, you've got protected parts of the embassy where there's a lot of confidential stuff goes on.
Yeah, of course.
So we had the guards staying in a hotel across the road, sort of on shifts, and then we had to float in on a boat, a pump to pump out the water from the embassy. Sandbagged it all out. Pumped the water out. We had to take a trip to the other side of Indonesia, then to go and get a load of cleaning equipment from a store that hadn't been so badly hit by the floods. Yeah, bring that in back to the embassy. We got that embassy operational again within 72 hours. We had people back at their desks, and when I say flooded, I mean, as I say, dead bodies floating past you down the river.
That must have been pretty traumatic. That must have been really traumatic.
So we was making regular calls back to Whitehall with the sort of Foreign Office counterparts. To keep them obviously updating on a major catastrophe there. That had affected a number of their staff that had been displaced out of their homes and offices. So it was that was one of the more you can write all the business continuity plans you want, but if everything's underwater, the computers don't work, you're sort of making the stuff up as you go along. Nothing can prepare you for that.
No, I don't think anything can prepare you.
I think a lot of people the time when I got back in the hotel room, I can't get to work, I'm afraid. But.
Yeah, because you were a very young man then as well. How old were you then?
I'd have been 28, 29.
Wow. And sort of dealing with that. So did I'm guessing the Foreign Office provided support and stuff like that after it, did they?
I'd probably get shot for saying this, but most of the Foreign Office staff sat in the hotel across the road watching.
Really?
Watching from afar, whilst I was in there, sleeves rolled up with the cleaners, trying to shove mud back out the door with brooms.
Bloody hell.
trying to sort of move them from one room to the other because they tended to just go to sleep if you left them alone for too long. Clean that.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's been an interesting one.
One hell of an experience.
Yeah,
I mean, so what's been?
It was mad. Now I'm reliving it. It was mad.
I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't. I think I would really struggle seeing that. I think.
Yeah. You hear people tell you it's not my job. You know, when you ask them to do something and they tell you it's not my job, and you're thinking, I have no idea.
Yeah, that wasn't my job either. But
it wasn't.
Yeah, we just got on and you get on and do it, don't you?
Get on with it. I think, if I didn't, who did? Who was going to?
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes your personality kicks in, doesn't it? And just who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And if you're that kind of person, you're that kind of person.
Be able to get stuff done.
Yeah. Exactly, without doubt. All right. Similarly, what's been the most rewarding part of your career?
Most rewarding part of my career. I come back to that.
Yeah,
come back to that one. Yeah, I have to think about that one.
Yeah.
We're talking what? Financially rewarding? Spiritually rewarding? What are we talking about?
Just what meant the most to you? What were you the most proud of in your career?
I suppose getting those initial offers to come out to go and work out there. There's my boss that had gone out there. He had a whole country full of FMs he could have picked.
Yeah,
to come out and work with him when he picked the phone and picked me. Similarly with Sean Collins when he went to Empiric, to get a phone call from an ex-boss to say, I've gone somewhere new, I've got every consultant in the phone book I could pick the phone up to, every recruitment consultant in the phone book I could pick the phone up, I could pick the phone up to and ask. I can jump on LinkedIn, I can, go through the processes of picking the people that I want, but I want you, I want you to come and work with me again.
That says quite a lot though. Doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so. I think that you've obviously worked hard during your career, and people have recognised it, and they see you as a steady hand, somebody who gets things done, understands it, and things like that.
Yeah,
which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Good stuff. No problem. All right. Should we talk a little bit about ESG?
Yeah. It can. It's going nowhere, is it? It's here to stay.
Yeah. Well, it is without doubt. Yeah. Well, where do you see it going? How do you see it playing out?
I mean, that statistic I gave you earlier on, with 70% of all carbon being produced by the built environment. I mean, the energy side of things, that's, I suppose, it's relatively obvious. The energy side of things, we do need to find more sustainable sources of energy. We need to sort of decarbonise our assets. That's a given. I think the social aspect's been spurred on massively by COVID, and I think the way people want to live now. There's a flight to quality, and they want to live in probably BTR build to rent sector. They want these amenities. I think they've done really well out of it, and that's sort of helped spur on and grow the social aspect of it. People missed that. For a couple of years, people missed being together in a social environment. I think trying to entice people back into the office. I think again that's that social aspects of working together. The camaraderie you feel working as a part of a team. That's going to be really important to get people back into the office. And I think you've only got to look over the pond at what's happening in New York at the moment in the commercial office sector there. That because they were sitting on these big lumps of vacant property, it's wiped billions of pounds of the valuation of the property out there. And so getting people back into the office is important. I think for us particularly.
So hang on, sure. For those that don't know, what's happened in New York?
Their valuation of property in New York has plummeted by the billions recently.
And is that because they're working from home, not coming back to the office?
I think that's a big part of it. And I think we're probably a generation now that aren't going to see a 5-day in the office working week again. Yeah. I think that's gone.
It's dead. Yeah, I would agree.
It's dead.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever going to work 5 days.
We live in the edge of twats, don't we? You know what I mean? Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
I got you. Yeah. So I think that's it. But I mean, so as a result, I think that that social aspect, getting people back into the office is massively important, particularly for those of us in the property industry, because if we don't get people back into the offices in city centres, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I think so. I think London's done quite well though. I think you definitely see quieter days without a doubt.
Yeah,
and I think it's usually indicative of the weather. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I notice it.
I suppose what network rail operators do has a big impact as well.
Yeah.
We are, Lee. I mean, looking at my commercial portfolio, we're leasing. We're leasing up and we're leasing up quickly.
Well, that's good.
I don't know if that's necessarily true of the A grade stock.
Yeah.
I think some of the B and C grade stock you're starting to see fill up. I'd have to go and speak to some of my counterparts.
Do you think that's because people are taking smaller spaces?
100%. 100%. Think about it. If you're occupying a building and only 80% of your staff's ever going to be in at any one point in time, because they're not there on a Monday. The guys aren't there on a Monday. Are there on a Friday? The guys are. If you're only going to see 80% of your staff, either that 20% of the space that you're not using, you're going to use it for amenities, or you're going to look at the space you're occupying. Do I need such a big space? Do I need, what was traditionally a floor plate let to one tenant, is that going to be carved up and let to two? So it's definitely having an impact on what we do as occupiers and operators of property.
So what do you think, this is a bit of an out-of-the-box question really, what do you think landlords will do with that Grade A stock? How do you think that
you know what, I was thinking about this the other day, and I've cast my mind back to sort of the noughties. Wasn't there like a government that just said okay to convert commercial into residential space with very little bureaucracy involved? So maybe those central London office blocks, they start to become residential at some point. If we're not going to fill them up with, they've been built, they're there. If they're not going to be occupied by office, by businesses, perhaps they're.
It could certainly help with the housing crisis that we're
There you go.
experiencing, couldn't it?
There you go. Yeah.
But whether or not they go down that route, who knows? Yeah. Or maybe we're going to go into the era of, kind of everything becomes a mixed-use development. Everything has a bit of retail, a bit of resi, a bit of office space.
So hedge your bets, minimise your risk.
Every building's got a barber's in it. Every building's got a hairdresser's in it. All of those amenities are in one place. Yeah. A bit like Battersea, because Battersea is pretty cool like that, isn't it? It's kind of got everything there.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. I think people remember what had happened during COVID, and if cinema's going to be, and it will happen again at some point.
Yeah, of course.
If cinemas are shut and the gym is shut and the local, all the things you want to go out and use are in that development downstairs, and you can book them out privately, then that's what people are going to want that.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting time, isn't it? I think the next 5 years are going to be really, really odd.
Yes, I think. I think tectonic shifts in our industry. There's obviously. There's big changes coming for our game because of the Fire Safety Act.
Yes.
So I think from a regulatory point of view, there's a lot of changes coming for our industry. There's no two ways about that. But there's also, as I say, there's the scars in the aftermath of COVID. I think we're going to start seeing that. As I say, there's other city centre. Markets that are struggling as a result still, all these years later. I think we get to see how that's going to pan out.
Yeah, without doubt. So how do you think things like AI and things like that may either impact the industry either negatively or positively?
I think everyone needs to be looking at their IT policies with respect to AI. Right. You talk about smart buildings, and we're probably not a million miles off a building being able to say pump number 3 starting to play up, get an engineer out, and instruct it itself. I think we've been talking about it for a long time, but I think how it turbocharges back offices. Yeah, we use AI. We currently use AI quite a bit ourselves. So if there's stuff like administrative functions where you can use AI to speed it up and turbocharge it, I think people are doing that, and it's not going to be the rising of the robots that's coming to take our jobs we need to be worried about. But I think not being able to use AI is where the real risk lies, because if the younger generations coming through are coming for your job and they're equipped with AI and they know how to use AI, they're going to leave you in the dirt. It's like somebody turning up now and saying, I don't know how to use Microsoft Office, Excel or Word. They're going to get laughed at the job interview. And I think a few years' time, you'll be having job interviews saying which AI packages are proficient in. Yeah. And they'll be rattling off, Chat GDP version 27 and if you can't.
We'll have Chat GPT walking into the offices, mate, sitting down.
Wearing a suit.
Wearing a suit and taking the minutes for the meetings and just saying, excuse me, pause 1 second. I think we should write that a different way. Your grammar was incorrect.
I think if you don't pick it up and aren't able to use it in a not so distant future, you're going to be getting left behind. Going to job interviews and they'll ask you that. How good are you with it? And we do need to be careful what sort of proprietary information you're feeding in the way, because God only knows where that ends up. So as I said, think we need to look at our IT policies and how it's used. So I don't think the robots are coming for our jobs anytime soon. But
No.
But AI is definitely, it's definitely a tool you need to embrace.
Yeah.
It needs, you need to get on board with and need to use because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, true. Very true. Very true. So what? Let me. I asked this question to some people. I don't ask everybody. I'm going to ask you though because you've got broad experience. Right? You've been in the industry nearly 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we take what you know now.
Yeah.
We jump in the where many X time machine. Yeah. We take your mind all the way back to 20 years ago. We pop, Sean's mind now into Sean's mind then. Yeah. You're starting in facilities management. What advice would you give yourself, and what would you do in that first week?
Would you know? Do you know what I could say is I'd stay in the facilities management industry, even armed with everything I know now. And if I gave that brain to young me and said, "There you go, there's everything I know," I'd still want to keep doing this.
Yeah,
I'd still want to keep doing FM.
Right,
100%. I suppose it'd probably be some people that might go, I would have reconsidered my career choices and done something different, but I wouldn't. I'd still want to do this.
Right. And how would you? So let's say that first building.
Yeah.
You got all that knowledge. What would you do in that first week if you went into that first building 20 years ago with armed with the knowledge you have now?
Well, that's a doozy of a question, isn't it?
I know. How would what would that first week look like?
We talk a lot about plant rooms and AI and all the rest of them, but it's a people business. So I think that going and getting under the skin of the people in that property and in that business, and just having those conversations with your cleaners and your security guards about, because they're an infinite source of knowledge. Of 100%. That guy on the front desk, he's going to know that building better than you. He's in it day in, day out. So I think that I suppose wind it back a little bit. I probably was I did get promoted and propelled way beyond my capabilities at a young age, and was probably quite a cocky little young man. So,
right.
Maybe some humility would be number one. Go and have a conversation with the security guard because guarantee he knows 50 times more than you do.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, a few people have said. I get a varying degree of answer there, but like a couple of people have said the people piece, get to know the people better.
100%.
So it's quite interesting.
People behind the property.
It's quite interesting that quite a few people have said the similar thing, which is really cool.
I hope that's one of them ones you'd edit out afterwards, because it's not my favourite answer.
No, you've got to remember the answer will sound good. Don't worry about it. So if if let's say you were speaking to a young person now. They've just done their A-levels. They're looking to get into a career in FM.
Yep.
They've learned about it. What advice would you give them?
Well, they've now got the benefit of the routes that we didn't have. We didn't have the RICS route into facilities management or the IWFM. Previously BIFM. I suppose it was in its infancy.
Yeah.
But you didn't have that qualification. I've got colleagues that far, far younger than I am doing the same job. Probably earning the same sort of money. Yeah, they went down that route earlier on, and it does show that person's capable of committing and furthering themselves. And if we're both going for the same job, or if I'm interviewing two candidates, one's got that RICS or IWFM behind them, I'm going to pick them.
Of course.
So definitely look at those routes. The coordinator role was how I cut my teeth.
Really?
To an FM coordinator role,
Right.
And I think that gives you a good grounding both in the day-to-day stuff and the strategy, as well. So I'd say go and look for coordinator roles because there's very few barriers to entry there to go and do a coordinator role. You don't necessarily have to have had property management experience to do that, and that's going to give you a good grounding in FM. So I'd say the coordinator route and potentially go and get either IWFM or your RICS qualified.
Okay. RICS is that more for surveyors or is it?
Originally the Royal Institute. Sorry, I better get this right because I hate when you get it wrong. The Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. Yeah. Obviously, it's as the name would suggest, it's predominantly for surveyors, but they have an FM qualification as well.
Right. Okay.
Which is relatively new. So it's not been around that long. But it exists, and obviously it's internationally recognised.
Okay.
So if you're a young person looking to get into the industry,
it's a good route in.
100%. Yeah.
What about things like apprenticeships and graduate schemes? What?
I don't think I've never seen one for FM. Right. I mean, we do grad schemes for surveyors. Yeah. Where we are, from most of the big agents do grad schemes for surveyors, but I think maybe we need to look at that.
Right.
For FM entry level for grads, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely something the industry needs to consider.
Well, I think it is, yeah. I have heard of some, I think there's a degree now, isn't it, that you can take in FM?
Yes.
Certain schools, colleges and universities are rolling out now. But I think that's a relatively new thing as well, from which is my understanding. But it's certainly a route, isn't it?
Yeah.
Into the industry. All right, Sean, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you like doing outside of work?
Outside of work, there is such a thing. I've got 3 kids. I've got recently married. Any spare time I've got, I try and spend with my wife and kids.
Congratulations on the wedding.
Pleasure in life. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
When was that?
That was just as COVID hit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just as COVID hit, 2019.
Oh, I got married in 2019.
Did you?
Yeah, just before.
So there were some pros in that you didn't have to invite anybody you didn't want to come because of COVID.
Yeah, I know. But see, mine was in 2019, but mine was in May, so it was before sort of the Christmas period. Before
December.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, sort of smack bang as it smack ball. Well, I say that. I mean, it really took hold March 2020, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
but
really
we were starting to hear about it by then. Obviously, thus the name COVID-19. It was out there.
Exactly.
It was out there. But
without doubt.
Yeah, it was a weird old time.
Yeah, God, it was.
Yeah, weird old time. I mean, obviously, honeymoon plans were scuppered.
Yeah.
Because nobody was travelling.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm a Yorkshireman, so guess where I took my wife?
Go on.
On our honeymoon to God's own county, mate. You know what I mean? I went and I took her up to the North's capital city, York. She loved it.
I was born there.
Yeah, did the ghost tour. Took her on a few walks along the Dales. It was magical, mate. Magical.
Oh, God, there's so many things I want to say about Yorkshireman, not because of that.
And I saved a fortune.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You got to the core of it then.
Yeah. We even stayed with family.
Oh my.
It was an absolute result.
Dear.
It was brilliant. We had a great honeymoon.
And then did you spend this as because of COVID or?
No.
It's what I'd have done if I had the choice.
To be fair, I'd booked us New York for my 40th and our wedding, but it was in March. So it got cancelled. So. And she keeps banging on at me actually because I'm supposed.
When are you going to take me? I'm still on holiday in New York.
Yeah. So I'm taking her some. I'm going to book somewhere probably end of May.
You have to edit this out because my wife's going to be saying, "Where's our belated honeymoon?" No, I just remembered. You got your honeymoon.
Yeah. No, but she was quite. It was quite nice honeymoon actually. Well, to be fair though, my parents live in New Zealand, so there is actually a story behind it. So my parents live in New Zealand, so we couldn't really go away because they travelled all the way from New Zealand for the wedding.
Yeah.
So if they travelled 14,000 miles and then I buggered off to, I don't know, shape for a week or something like that, they wouldn't have been too happy. But the plan was always to do something later on. But then COVID hit, so it just didn't happen.
Where in New Zealand are
they? They live in a place called Palmerston North. I lived in New Zealand for 8 years.
I lived in New Zealand.
Whereabouts?
Auckland.
Really? Yeah. I lived in Christchurch,
Ponsonby.
Hamilton, Auckland.
Lived in Christchurch, yeah.
Yeah. Where were you?
Ponsonby.
I know Ponsonby. Yeah.
Loved New Zealand. I've spent a bit of time in Australia, but give me New Zealand over Australia.
If I said to you, "Chur, bro," would you know what that means?
Have you said to me what?
Chur, bro.
No.
You were obviously the posh part of New Zealand.
I think I've only spent my time with backpackers rather than a real deal.
Yeah. No, I was over there a long time, to be fair. I spent my 20s in New Zealand.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a waste, really. I should have been having a good time going on holidays, but because when you're there and when you live there.
So did you moved out there when your parents moved out there?
No, like my parents moved out there. I was in the Navy. I came out of the Navy and I was like, I'll go there for a holiday and ended up staying.
Yeah.
And then I was there for a period of time, met a girl. Stayed with her, bought a house, split up with the girl.
Yeah.
Sold the house, left. It's kind of like that, really. At the end of it. But yeah, it was all right.
When did I interviewing you? Tell me more.
I'll tell you.
Okay, deal.
All right, well, listen, Sean, that's the end of the podcast. How did you find it?
That was lovely.
Did you enjoy it?
On,
yeah. Okay, well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for seeing me.
And listeners, another fantastic episode. Who knew we were going to get an international man of facilities management on today's episode? But we did. We finally did it. And we will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh, you're a blinder.